Yo, happy Sunday, happy Euphoria Sunday to all my Euphoria fans out there. We are back live talking about the latest episode, season 2, episode 2, which was titled Out of Touch. And listen, man, we got so many love triangles going on right now. We got some people that's not in love and not loving himself. We got a little bit of self-love and so much. And Cal and Nate are both involved in this season now. And Fez, man, our boy Fez, you gotta watch out because when you're on their radar, that ain't a good thing. But listen, man, this is our second week being back talking about this great show, Euphoria. And the goal is to try to have these streams every single Sunday. But more importantly, every single Sunday with some incredible, amazing content creators. I got some great ones tonight for you all. And I'm excited to bring them on. Both of them, this is the first time on the channel. I'm so excited to pick their brains, talk about this show that we all love on HBO by Euphoria. So before we jump into tonight's conversation, do me a huge favor. If you can hit that little thumbs up button, it really helps out the algorithm, but also share this video to anyone and everyone you know that's just as big as fans as we are, so we can have a great discussion about this episode, predict what we hope to see in the coming weeks and all that fun stuff. And more importantly, the two guests that I have on, their links are in the bio. So do me a favor, do yourself a favor, click those links, subscribe, follow them on their Instagrams or TikToks or Twitters, all that great stuff, because they're not only great people, but they also have some great opinions, some great content for you all. So definitely check them out. So with all that being said, let me bring in the first guest here, who we have had the pleasure of interacting on multiple streams on one of our mutual friends, Brandon from Just My Opinion. But my boy has always been putting out great content. He covers anime, TV shows like Euphoria, movies, and just has such a great fire personality. He's also on TikTok, and he's been killing on that platform as well. And I'm so excited to have him on for the first time. Talking about my man, Big Dog. What's going on, man?
Was good. I am
good, bro.
Super excited to be on here tonight.
Man, Euphoria, Big Dog. It's been a minute. It's been a minute, but we finally here and we talking about it. I figured I saw you were a fan a couple weeks ago. I'm like, this is the one we got to talk about. We love DC, but we got to talk about some Euphoria, man. And there's some crazy stuff going on. But how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great tonight, man. Good TV, a lot of good TV today.
Yeah, man.
Got a couple good streams tonight, couple good videos. I'm in the mood for this, like very, very much so.
Hey, that's the thing about Euphoria, man. It puts you in the vibe. It puts you in the mood. I'm so excited to have you on, man. But hey, if this is the first time people are checking you out, Big Dog, why don't you let them know who you are, what you're about, and where they can find you, my friend?
Well, listen, man. If you want to laugh, you want to have a good time, okay, come over to my channel because if you're in the movies, television, anime, all of that good stuff, go follow me on my YouTube. Also, my same handle, OneTakeBigDog, is what I use for all other platforms: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. I'm down to earth. I guarantee you, we're gonna have a bunch of fun when you talk about anything with me, and I'll make sure you enjoy yourself.
Hey, man, you heard the man. You definitely are killing it, and I'm so excited to have you on, man. Again, his links are in the bio, the TikToks, the Instagrams, the Twitter. Do yourself a favor, ladies and gentlemen, and check them out. So that's one of our two special guests. This next special guest here, we've been following each other for quite a while. We have very similar taste in movies and shows, and I'm so excited. And I knew she was a fan of this show from, I think we were talking about one of the specials. I don't remember. It's been such a long time, but I'm so excited to have her on. She is killing it on TikTok. Again, she has an Instagram, has so much great things to say about her favorite shows. Swag out of this world. I'm so excited to have her on. I'm talking about the one and only Gabriella. What's going on?
What's up, guys? Swag out of this world.
Swag out of this world, man. Always coming with the swag. She's the Maddie of tonight's group, ladies and gentlemen. She comes with the swag and the fire. So yeah.
Came to serve.
How you doing tonight, Gabriella?
I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, we got some stuff to talk about tonight. But Gab, do me a favor. Why don't you let the people know where you're at, what kind of platforms are you on, and where these wonderful folks that are watching us live can find you?
So I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and basically unwarranted opinions about your favorite shows. Always honest and like always on the ball, especially with Euphoria. Since day one, been avid at it, and I'm always up for conversation. So any of my socials will always have my unwarranted opinions.
No doubt. And I love the all the stuff you bring to the platforms, whether it's Instagram and TikTok. It's always such a good time. And again, I know you're a big fan of this show. And I'm just so excited to have you on tonight to talk about this episode, talk about these characters and what we can expect to see for the coming weeks of this fantastic show. So before we kind of get into tonight's episode, I want to kind of briefly start with you, Big Dog, just your quick thoughts on last week's episode and getting back into the swings and things. And just, before we kind of get into tonight's episode, what was your initial thoughts of the premiere of last week, man?
I don't think we could have had a better premiere. Because I think it honestly set up how crazy things are with these kids. They constantly going through multiple different things, and like, but to me, it seems like instead of the focus being Rue and we seeing on what's going on, everything around her that she's usually be directly or indirectly involved with. This is like more focusing on the entire ensemble and things that have going on that don't necessarily involve Rue, and
Yep.
just the whole build up. I think we've all been waiting on that Nate ass whooping for
Yep. Long
quite
overdue.
some
Long
time.
overdue. Yeah, man.
And like the way Fezco played it was perfect to me. Listen, I was on my feet like the last 30 minutes of that episode. I could not sit down. I was on my feet. I was cheering. You would have thought I was at a basketball game or something. That's how crazy it was. Yo, I absolutely loved the beginning of the season.
And what I love too, Big Dogs, you were out of town last week, and you had to come on and put your thoughts out there. That's how fire the episode was, and a great review that you put up last week. I'm excited to see your review on this episode. But Gab, same question for you in regards to kind of going into this second season, and your thoughts on what we got in last week's premiere.
I was ecstatic. And I think that it made me so happy because I think the best thing about television shows, especially series with like Netflix and HBO, is like if you can keep me surprised and you can serve me something different, you've already got me. So I think, like he said, there's like no better premiere we could have asked for. You could tell the tone of the direction we were going. We got to know where all the characters were emotionally. So like everything we could have asked for from that served.
Well said. Well said. And again, one more question before you, and Gab, I'm gonna toss to you first. If your spirit animal, who's the spirit animal? Who do you connect to the most on this show? And then we'll toss to you, Big Dog. But Gab, who's your spirit animal on Euphoria?
I think first season, I was all about Maddie, and I was like, yes, girl, we are serving together.
Yeah.
And I think in high school, I just so tried to be that. Like I was just yearning for that. So definitely Maddie first season, but like
Yeah.
this season, I don't know yet. I don't know.
Yeah.
I continue to say Maddie. I think I'm starting to like move over a little bit because I don't know about her this season yet.
Yeah, Maddie's been going through some stuff. She got a new job that we'll talk about, and we'll talk about that babysitter. I don't know if there's something to look forward to in that plot that we'll get into. But Big Dog, same question for you, man. Who's that one character, whether it was season 1 or 2 episodes into this season, that you like, you know what, I can relate to that character the most, just based on whether it was when you was in high school or now or whatever the case may be. Who's your spirit animal, my friend?
I think it's a blend of two from season. Well, I would definitely say Fez, but after today's episode, I think I would lean more towards Cat. Like in like the inner turmoil that she's going through, I think that definitely like his home.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. We're definitely gonna talk about that. That was one of my favorite scenes this episode. Is we all have, like Big Dog just said, we all have those moments of self-doubt, and we're our own worst enemies, and that's what I love about Cat so much. And a lot of these characters, and they're their own worst enemies a lot of times. So, with that being said, again, we're gonna dive into the spoilers again. If you guys are watching this live, go ahead and share the video, thumbs up, and leave your thoughts in the comments. But opening up the episode, I mean, we start off with America's Most Wanted, the hated character, but we saw him how he ended last week. He's bloodied up. He don't know what to do with himself. I mean, again, that ass whooping was something great. But we hear Rue giving us the voiceover in regards to he's in love, and it's not who we think it is in regards to Maddie. It is Cass. So I mean, Gab, the relationship. We know that Cass was in a relationship with McKay last year, which I don't think we're going to get much of McKay, if at all, the rest of the season. I know there's been some stuff on the internet. There's some things went on behind the scenes, especially since they had to kind of rewrite the second season with the pandemic. But I don't know if we're going to get any more McKay. But putting that aside, Cass, Nate's in love with Cass, and Cass kind of is having that same type of feelings. How you feeling about this relationship so far, Gab?
I think Nate Jacobs is the ultimate toxic man that you could ever think of. And I think Jacob plays him so well that you're willing to hate him as a person too. Like you're just like, I just can't stand this guy. But Cassie and Nate are just really a dumpster fire at this point. Like it's just two wrongs we're just going down the wrong path. However, I think Nate with anyone would be a dumpster fire as of right now. I just think he's on some kind of path to redemption. So that's where we're like moving.
Ooh.
Hey, that was a great point you brought up, because there have been so many shows, and I don't know because it's probably HBO, but I think of Game of Thrones, from a Game of Thrones fans out there. I hated Jamie Lannister the first time we got into him the first season, but then as the seasons went on, him and Brianna on their journey or whatnot, you end up loving Jamie, even though he was banging his sister. So, Big Dog, tossing it to you, man. Your thoughts on this relationship? Again, we open episode, and I love to that we always kind of open episode with kind of the main focus of the character and kind of the main narrative, but we open up with Nate. The aftermath is last week. We see that he's having some issues at the hospital. He's having this fantasy life. He wants to have a life with Cass. How you feel about that life, man, and all the stuff we got in that opening?
It's just so wrong, because I couldn't help but think, as I was watching it, I couldn't help but think, I said, man, this dude just got the hell beat out of him. And not once during the whole thing did he reflect on all the terrible things that he's done to everybody in his path. His mind goes straight to, oh, I could have such a great life with this girl.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, do you not realize why you just got your face beat in? Like, this man is imagining his dad dying. I get that his dad's not the best person, but he's imagining the best case scenario for himself after everything that dude's a sociopath, bro.
Yeah.
That's plain and simple. And Cass, I have been with, that's my girl. That's my girl. But so many times Cass just makes decisions that make me just look at her. I'm like, and then this episode was it. I can't defend Cass too much more as it is, because I'm like, first of all, I don't like when you do your friends this way. I'm like, you saw how you treated your best friend, who your ride or die. Like Gabriella said, this is a dumpster fire waiting to happen.
Or is it? Can two wrongs make a right? Can two wrongs make a right? I mean, we haven't seen them quite yet in relation. I mean, whenever you start on this type of foundation, sneaking behind people's backs and all that stuff, it ain't good signs for the future. But hey, who knows? Who knows? But I mean, the thing too with this fantasy that Nate's having, and I guess tossing it back to you, Gab, in regards to season one. Again, we know that she was in a relationship with McKay, and obviously he was in a relationship with Maddie. Is it me, or did you wish there was a little bit of inkling that there was something there? Because to me, I don't know if it's just me, if it feels like it's just kind of, I don't want to say coming out of left field, because we all been in high school. You can be in love with one person one day, and the next day you're in love with someone else. But is it me? Did you want to see a little bit of that in season one, or was there some of that relationship explored at all, or is it just kind of out of left field in your opinion?
I do feel like Cassie and Nate is just kind of just, it is really out of left field. We just took a turn out of nowhere. However, I think his relationship with Maddie drove so much of what was going on in season one, that if that relationship was somehow tainted or changed and Cassie was involved earlier, I think it kind of would have changed the direction of season one entirely, because so much of Maddie, I mean, and even the iconic moments that we got that, took the internet by storm, most of them were a product of Maddie and Nate, or Maddie's feelings on the relationship with Nate. So I think I'm happy that it wasn't in season one. I'm happy we got to watch that dumpster fire instead.
It's very true. And before I talk to you, Big Dog, we all know too, because with the whole pandemic, the season was shut down like literally a week before they got in production. So I think it was kind of a gift and a curse that they were able to have those little bit more moments to kind of flesh out this new season and explore new relationships. But Big Dog, with you, man, did you feel like this relationship was on the horizon? And again, I know we know it's a dumpster fire, but is there a possibility that these two characters can somehow bring the best out of each other to the forefront?
Okay, that was a little layered there, but the reason I'm gonna say no, first of all, I didn't see it coming, because I did like multiple like prediction videos, and I actually had Cass, actually leaning towards Fez at one point in time, because I thought like that would have been like a good match. But then when we obviously get the episode, well, going back to that first episode, the interaction between the two seems to totally mesh. That's why I think that part works because like Cass was going through it.
Yeah.
Nate also going through some stuff, and we know how both of them are. Like when they're like Cass is vulnerable a lot of times, especially like after the situation that happened with her. So to me, they just I don't want to say a match made in heaven because maybe a match made in hell is a better term to put for it.
Yeah.
But I definitely see why those two, connected.
Yeah. I mean, and again, going back to season one, knowing how they both, I mean, none of the characters come from like a quote unquote stable home, but both of their uprisings and the way they were raised, it kind of, like you just said, it kind of makes sense how they would they're searching for love. A lot of these characters always searching for love, just based on their relationship with their parents and their siblings. So, yeah, sometimes two wrongs, can find each other, and I think so like I said, it's going to be really interesting to see this relationship as we progress the rest of this season. And just seeing some of the trailers, it look like Cass is going to try to embrace her inner Maddie and try to almost be a mirror version of Maddie. And again, when Maddie finds out, as we'll talk about in this episode, she wants violence. So that moment will be something else. But a moment that I found to be really interesting, and which we'll tie it back to the end, was seeing this smile here, him being at his lowest point. But at the end of this episode, him having somewhat of an advantage or having a little bit of more leverage on his dad, which I think is the first time that he's ever been able to do that in his life. But we'll get to that a little bit later. But talking about our main stars here, Rue, talk about toxic, Rue and Jules. And right now, Gabriella, I want to start with you. She got a big smile on her face. That's because she's living two lives. She's living her best life. She gets to do the drugs and have her girlfriend and then his new friend. And we'll talk about Ellie here in a second. But Gabriella, how much longer will this fantasy life that Rue is having right now, how much longer is this going to last for her?
This is not going to last long. I mean, it's not going to last long, but this is what I love about Euphoria and a lot of the things I watch. Like, if you can make a really bad person so likable that I'm like, this person's doing bad things, but I kind of want to see them happy. Like, I don't necessarily want to see this person upset, even though they're doing really terrible things. And that's kind of how I feel with Rue. Like, I know she's bad decisions all around, not doing a good thing.
Yeah.
We got what we wanted, and it's going to end horribly wrong. Something is going to go up in flames here, but I have a soft spot for Rue, and she could do anything. And I'd be like, okay, all right, let's rock with it.
It's a reason why you cast a Zendaya and why she probably picked the role, because it's someone that you're so constantly frustrated with. She makes, again, a lot of these characters, they seem to be good people that make bad decisions. Her being one of them, Fez being another one of them, Cassie. But, Big Dog, I'm tossing it to you, man, in regards to just, we know from last season, Jules told her straight up, we can't be together if you're going to be on drugs. And if a lot of you all saw the special, we know that's because of her mom. Her mom was an addict, and she has a really bad relationship with her mom just due to the fact that she was an addict, and she, put her in the nut house and all this stuff. But your thoughts, man, on this relationship and how much longer, Rue is going to be able to balance this two life? Because right off the bat, we see how awkward it is when Elliot stops through, and how Rue was just trying to, hopefully hope that he didn't slip up and say, oh yeah, we met at the New Year's Eve party and we got high together. And she almost died, by the way. But nice to meet you.
Listen, Rue, I love her, but she is absolutely terrible. Rue looks at every decision. She looks at good, bad, and there's no way you should do this. And that's the one she picks every single time. I feel for Jules, because it's like there are people around. There are so many people around Rue that really care about her. Yeah. And to me, it's like she constantly takes advantage of that. And then boom, she try to make up for it. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do better. It goes right back to it. This whole thing, you see how uncomfortable Jules felt when, they were, first got introduced to him. I'm just like, okay. So I don't even see this lasting maybe 2, 3, maybe 2 more episodes before the cat's out the bag. And once again, you're gonna have a sad Rue But the fact that she has somebody there who's just gonna be like, hey, wait, you want to do some drugs with me? It doesn't help her case at
Yeah.
all.
It's the angel and the devil on her shoulder, and like you said, she's always picking that devil. The devil, it seems
Every
like,
time.
and not to say that Elliot's a devil, because we really haven't explored the character too much yet. But of course, he's not helping her out, being that he's a drug addict as well. Which, again, I mean, this Elliot character's in the mix, and tossing to you, Gabriella, before we move on to the next point. I never suspected Jules to be the jealous type. First and foremost, I mean, she cheated on Rue last year and just casually said it. Yo, did you guys hook up? Yeah, we hooked up, and was just like, whatever there was about it. But for her to be somewhat jealous was surprising. Did that surprise you too, that Jules walked away crying at that moment?
I almost don't know if it was jealousy. I almost feel like that was like maybe a moment that like Jules just realized that Rue kind of is falling into old patterns and maybe has a buddy now to encourage them. I
Right.
don't know necessarily if it's like severe jealousy in that way, only because I think Jules knows that when Rue does go missing, and if she's not with her, there's
Right.
really only one other vice she has.
Right. Right.
So
That's
I
a good
think
point.
maybe it's more of a stressful kind of moment rather than a jealous one. That's
Right.
kind of
No, that makes
where
sense. Big Dog, did you kind of take it the same way? Or, and going to Gabriella's point, again, knowing that Jules has this kind of toxic relationship with drugs, was it, like, oh, here we go again. This is, my mom has lied to me about a new friend or whatever the case may be, knowing that it could be someone that's, an enabler versus kind of keeping her away from the drugs. But how did you take in Jules at that moment? Was it more of a jealous moment or more of like she's going down that dark path again?
Well, I initially thought it was a jealous moment, but like Gabriella made a great point, and it
Yeah.
definitely, the more you think about it, leans more in that direction. But even if it's like the jealousy, I think it's because of, I think that episode of Jules, I think it's like, okay, we finally getting into it. We finally like, I want to be serious about this whole thing, and then she's kind of feeling uncomfortable because like I think she's truly letting her guard down, to go all in on this relationship with Rue. And if it's already stumbling, it's like, damn, I'm trying to give my all to you, and there's
Yeah.
already somebody else there. That makes you feel pretty bad.
Yeah, that and also to just thinking of going back to season one, it seems like things are never like right for them at the right time, right? It's either Jules wants to go out and go on a train and leave things, and Rue's trying to get back in sobriety, and then it seems like now she's back off drugs. It seems like they're never the right fit, and like Gabriella said, they seem to be. I'm rooting for them, but it's just one of those relationships where it's just not the right time. This is just
Yeah.
they're not at the, I think, not the right place. First, they're still in high school, but they're not in the right place mentally to be there for each other emotionally, whatever the case may be. So again, they want to make it work, but I just don't think it's that time to make it work. And I think this Elliot character will definitely kind of expose that in the rest of the season. And just quickly, Gabriella, do you think there's a romantic relationship between those two, Rue and Elliot, or is it more just a friendship, common interest being drugs, or is there something a little bit romantic going on, especially when he was talking to I assume that was his mom or his older sister on the couch?
Yeah, I actually felt like in the beginning, I thought it was going to be more of a friendship, and especially with the way they met and how everything unraveled. But I think once this episode, when she was laying on the bed, kind of telling him about her dad and everything like that, that was kind of the first time we saw her have that conversation with anyone. So I
Yeah.
thought it was interesting that it was Elliot. And then on top of that, there was just a moment where she had like this little smirk on her face, and I just felt like, I don't know, it might be going in the romantic direction now, which I could be kind of excited for. Like, I think making Rue kind of like the hot one where we're fighting over them, like, I just think that could really work. I don't know, I'm really into it.
Yeah, I mean, and again, there's so many love triangles going on right now. Why not add another one in the mix? But Big Dog, your opinions on this? Do you feel like it's leaning towards that romantic relationship, or is it just we're two druggies, in high school, leaning on each other and get high with each other?
Nah, see, not at all. It's just a look they both had. It's just, you saw it in their eyes. I'm like,
Yeah.
I think even Jules haven't saw it yet, but I think as an audience we saw it, and like you just know certain moments, like That's the moment right there. That's the moment where obviously she's with Jules, but that's the moment where she like pretty much told herself, this is another option for me. And I
That's
think he
yeah.
definitely feels the exact same way.
Yeah, and I hope we got all these flashbacks for characters in season one. I wonder if we'll get an Elliot flashback, where he comes from, how he was raised, how he came to where was he last year? Is he transferred student? And another thing to point out with Rue, she's always confident when she's on drugs. She's always at her best when she's high. She always makes the best decisions that she thinks when she's high. So knowing that she has someone that doesn't keep those that high from her, that might be the one that she might choose. But we'll see. Again, when if that heartbreak does come, I'm gonna feel bad for both of them, especially Jules with all the stuff she's went through. But going back to Cass, I know we that's one of our favorite characters. We saw that she's been going through a rough time with no showering, no cleaning, and this relationship that she has with Maddie. Gabriella, how are they great friends? How do you think it's more of one of those relationships where it's like, oh, you're cute, we have the same fashion, same taste, but do you think there's a true friendship between these two, or is it just one of those high school, hey, you want to be friends?
I think no, I think that they were good friends. I think that they had like a very specific circle of friends. And when you're in high school and you're girls, obviously you're going to stick to what you know, you're going to stick in your friend group. But I think even just the way Cassie responded when in episode 1, when she heard Maddie's voice, and just that sheer panic made like how much she actually she may have not thought about this decision until just now, like, and hearing her. But once she did realize what she was doing, I think the panic set in because they are really good friends. And I think she knows everything that she's doing is about to explode because she is her best friend. So yeah, I think they're very close in that sense, for sure.
Big dog. When the moment comes, when Maddie inevitably finds out, does Cass have a good reason? You guys were on the break, or is that Maddie ain't gonna want to hear that, especially when we see all the ass whooping she's been given all over these last few years?
You know what? This is what's crazy because First of all, I don't think there's anything Cass would be able to tell Maddie to be like justify what he did.
Right.
First of all, okay, like no, but the reason why I say they're definitely close friends, I think when she does find out, she's going to be so heartbroken that she won't. It's not even a fight. It's just like she's going to be devastated.
Yeah,
because I think those two complement each other very well. But that's kind of like the whole group. I think they all bring something different to the table in order to help the other one. So Maddie's going to be crushed to the point to where like, no, I just don't want to talk to you. I don't want to fool with you. Like this is it. Like, I'm done.
And we got to remember, Maddie has the biggest ammunition. She got that tape that's going to ruin a lot of people's lives, whether it be obviously Nate and Cal and who knows what, the ramifications with Jules being involved. So if she does find out the news, which is inevitably, I think she's going to be on the tail for vengeance, especially with that tape in her hand. But kind of speaking of Maddie here, as again, which we see that flashback of her just again being a little kid and then slamming a girl's head in the locker, and Maddie's always on point. But we get a little bit of moment with Maddie. She's babysitting. She's a little side hustle. And we see she's babysitting Theo. The mom comes home. And by the way, if they ever do a Clueless remake, reboot, continuation, cast Maddie as Claire. She's like perfect for that role, or anyone in that movie. But I want to toss it to you, Gab, in regards to just it might be me. I don't know. There's 2 moments in this episode that I might be digging too deep into, and this was one of them. That the woman that came home and she had a little bit to drink, but she looks at Maddie and said, "Thank you, I appreciate you," and holds her hand. Is there something plot wise that this show's going to explore with Maddie and the babysitter a little bit later?
It felt weird.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad I'm not the only
weird,
one.
And
okay.
I think the shot of her taking down the dress and like how slow it became. I think there's a reason for that. I think with the show too, they're really good at that with kind of popping these little specific shots, and you're like, okay, this doesn't really make much sense right now, but it could possibly 3 episodes down the line. So I think there's definitely something odd happening with the babysitter the babysitter situation for sure.
Big Dog or me and Gabby on something, man, or are you in the same boat? Was there something there? Because again, like she just said, there's a reason why you put the shot. Because obviously she could have just came home. Okay, thanks. Have a good night. The money's on the table. But they made sure to show us. Again, it could have been they were showing that she was going to get called. Why are you trying on my clothes? But to have that moment, is there something there, Big Dog?
Oh yeah, I'm so happy that y'all caught this as well. Oh, I thought I might have been the only one, but the whole situation, because I'm just like you. At first, I'm thinking, oh, okay, she just might see that she was in a drawer,
Right.
and then the way that host, it's just like everything got silent. It's like she zipped it as slow as possible. I thought. At first, I thought she was gonna turn around and kiss her. I was like, okay, well, that's the direction we're going.
Wouldn't hold it past Euphoria. Yeah,
exactly. So
Right.
there's definitely gonna be something with that. Just don't know what and like what implications it's gonna have down the line.
yeah, we'll see. Again, like Gabby said, this show doesn't just put stuff in here just for the sake of it. There's always something, even if it's not this season. You know, hopefully the show gets many more seasons ahead, and that's something to maybe explore in the future. But you know, as we kind of move forward with the episode, I guess the only good, seamlessly good relationship that we got going right now, as far as not toxic, is Ethan and Kat. You know, I remember that line last year. If one of us is gonna get our heart broken, I want to be the one, right? That's straight out of a romantic movie, to say the least. But Big Dog, we see our boy Nate, or I should say Ethan. He's in love with Kat, but it's not being reciprocated because she doesn't love herself. And then we get the whole Game of Thrones, Death Rocky killing, all that stuff. But what's going on with Kat, man? Because she not just be happy, or is it just more out there for her?
I think I think when you uncomfortable with yourself, it's hard for you to like pour into a relationship. Now, imagining her boyfriend getting killed and then having sex with his dead body right there, that might be taking it a little bit too far. But
Yeah.
but I get it. Like she's going through like some serious stuff, and I love the whole scene where like everybody's telling like, oh, you're so confident, like you go be a bad bee. I'm just like, everybody else might see one thing in her, but if you don't feel that same way about yourself, there is nothing anyone can tell you. It's just something you have to discover on your own. And during that process, people you care about are gonna get hurt, because even when she was writing down the pros and cons of her relationship with Ethan, she had no cons. So it's all internal. But if she's having those problems, she's probably, I hate to see it, she's probably gonna end up like stepping away from him. I hate to see my boy get his heart broke, because I really feel like he's like committed to her. But people have things that they deal with, and they have to deal with them on their own. So
well said, man.
Tragedy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, because that seems to be like I said, the most non-toxic relationship of the show. But Gabriella, same question for you in regards to the Kat situation. Again, one of the reasons I like her is because I think we all have a little bit of self-doubt, some more than others. But we see in this episode that she's in her head. She's her own worst enemy. She seamlessly has someone that is someone that wants to build something with her. But like a Big Dog said, if you can't love yourself, how could you imagine loving someone else? So your thoughts on Kat in this episode, and really kind of get into her psyche in this episode.
Kat actually was one of my favorite parts of this episode, just because I think
same.
We see Maddie and everyone around her saying like, oh, you have the perfect boyfriend, you have the perfect relationship. And I think having that and still not being happy with it is a really hard pill to swallow, and I think she is going through, she'll probably have one of the biggest discoveries as far as her self, her path, what she wants to do, just because last season we saw such a confident Kat. And I think a lot of people tend to forget that even the most confident people have the worst time and can be some of the most insecure, people at times. So I love this entire moment we have with Kat. And I also love the fact that we visually saw what that side of like depression and what social media does, because if I could explain, that is the perfect visual to show anyone. I was saying, if I ever had to explain to someone like how does depression feel? Like, how does it feel going on social media after or during? This is it. Like, this is it. Like, it was perfection. So I'm really excited to see what happens with Kat, but I don't think her and Ethan are going to last. I don't think that situation's gonna last. I'm sorry. Ethan's a good dude, but I think he was perfect for her at a certain time. And I think it's a new time, and I don't think it's right now.
Well said. I couldn't agree with you more. And it's that scene, which was a little bit later in the episode, but just since we're on the topic now, that was my favorite scene in the episode. Her showing it what it's like to be in your head and all the voices, the pros, the cons. Be more like this, love yourself, do this, do that, the other, and just the tug and pull that you're internally going with, and obviously, having someone that you think that you're in love with and all that stuff. This doesn't work out. Sometimes it's just not the right moment. So they might not be together now, but who knows what the future holds with them. But again, I love what they're representing with that Kat character and what it looks like to be just trying to discover yourself. And that's the thing too, that we always kind of forget about. So these are kids in a sense, the 17, 16-year-olds. And I remember me being that age and just going all different type of routes of who you think you are, who you want to be, what you're trying to emulate. And then, like you just said, Gabriella, the fact that, I was in high school when MySpace was the biggest thing in high school, right? But nowadays with the Instagrams, the Twitters, all the stuff, the pressure of being, quote unquote famous or making it big. I'm so glad I'm not in high school during this time. I could not imagine it. I couldn't imagine it. And, goodness to all those kids right now. But as we go on the rest of the episode, again, we talked about it briefly in regards to Maddie's history of violence, which I find is so interesting. Just a little side tangent here, Big Dog, in regards to just whether male, female, how we see her being this badass and kicking ass her whole life. But when it comes to being in an actual relationship, none of that energy was given to Nate last year, right? But we see that she can hold her own, but she doesn't show that in a relationship. Not that I'm condoning violence in a relationship, but I'm just saying in regards to that mindset, how people view her as, I don't want to step on Maddie's shoes, but yes, she doesn't stand up for herself when it comes to Nate. It's such an instant moment for that character, but it's kind of going more into Maddie and this whole thing of being able to catch, her friend in the act, man. Just your thoughts on what we're going to be getting with Maddie and Cassie and this violence that she showed in this episode and what's to come for Cassie. Maybe I know we said she might not put the hands on her, but she has a history of doing that.
She does, which I think they put that in there for a reason, like kind of like build like the anticipation. And then you see technically every girl that you hit kind of look like Cassie. So it's like
blind area.
You might be in trouble.
Yeah.
I think Maddie has to be strong because I feel like people look at her to be strong, But even throughout the episode, when like you have times when like she's just chilling with the little kid playing game, I think Maddie really is like so much more chill than she's given credit for. But she, like you said, she's also a very strong woman. So and I think we're gonna get to see really more of that vulnerable side once like she discovers what happened with like Nate and Cassie, because it's gonna be the thing that like really breaks her down. Like your best friend doing something like that to you, you don't know how to actually react to that, because these are one, like obviously Nate's ex, and who she even thought about getting back with this episode. I think everybody was like, don't do that, but you have that mindset, and then accompanied by the fact that this is your best friend, your ride or die, who like they both betray you. That's a different type of pain, and you automatically assume that you will be angry enough to like scorch the earth, but at the same time, you might just curl up and cry.
We'll see what that reaction is. And Gabriella, if you were to put a prediction on it, is it next week, the week after, when we will get that moment where Maddie will find out what her best friend's been up to? Or is it something that we saw Cass continuously, she swerved the situation all last week in the tub. And she seems to still swerve, Maddie's suspicions this episode. But is it just a matter of time that she finds out that her best friend's been betraying her this whole time?
Oh, I think it's a matter of time. And I also kind of feel like Cassie might potentially blow herself up just because she we can already tell she's like not handling keeping the secret well, and
Right.
she's just not handling the situation well. And the one clip that we do have from, I guess, future episodes of them both in the same outfit, I think eventually Cassie's breakdown will erupt, and it's just inevitable.
Yeah.
It's inevitable that
Yeah.
she finds out and this all hits the fan.
Yeah, it's going to be something because, again, you know, you always want to root for friendships making it through anything, but you also want to be, you know, having good friends, be supporting for each other. So, yeah, we all love Cass, but we all know she's making just a terrible decision right now. But
Yes.
we can't neglect the hero of all heroes. Our boy Fez finally makes it into the episode a little bit halfway through. I was kind of worried. I'm like, damn, we got Fez. He was kicking ass last week, but he's finally back to the mix. But here's another prime example of one of many characters that, again, seem to be such a good person, but just continuously making bad decisions. As we learn about Fez's upbringing with his grandmother, who's a straight G, but he has this girl, Faye, Gabriella, is in the house. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think that hotel manager died, because why else would all the police be there? It seems to be like in a bad neighborhood, and it's not that much police. If someone just fell off a balcony and hurt their ankle, but I think she's a killer, which brings me to the point of, why would you have a killer in your house on top of, you know, your little brother Ashtray with all these drugs? He just makes bad decisions. But we love Fez. But your thoughts on this Faye situation, and will this ultimately be a bad mistake by Fez?
I love every character on this show. But Faye I've had enough. I can't really explain why. I just feel like from the moment
such a
we
wild
saw her,
card. Yeah.
it was just such an irritating situation to me. But the thing is that Fezco's character could do no wrong. After last week, my man could drive down the street and just start hitting people, running them over, and be like, you know what, Fezco, it's okay today. Did you have a bad day? Like, it would be totally fine by me. So anything he does is fine by me, but he has to go. I have had enough of her. It's only 2 episodes, and I just think she's kind of irritating me.
Yeah.
She's stunting his growth.
She's compromising the whole situation. I mean, she's literally, for my you know, Ice Cube fans out there, this is Felicia, man. This is like this version of her. She's just running around. She's always seeming to get people in trouble. Murder on the loose, killer on the loose. Doesn't know how to shut her mouth. I mean, this Big Dog, man. This fake character in the house of Fez. And a man, Ashtray, he was like, where's the hammer? You know, he get her out the house. But what do you think about this Faye character and how she's going to play into the mix? I thought it was just going to be like a one and done random crackhead in last week's episode, just showing like Rue, like, this is the route you can go down if you keep doing drugs. But she seems to be a character that I think is just going to be just like that nuclear bomb, just blow everything up.
That is my exact thoughts. There is no logical reason that he allows her to stay in his house. Go pick up, take off, drop off somewhere else. Fez, you and old dude, not even that cool. Yeah, he put you on to his plug. But there is no reason you should go grab this girl, put her in a house that's full of drugs, and you know she's a drug addict. I'm with Ashtray, Fez. I'm not talking to you to this girl out the house, bro. You my boy. We done been through thick and thin together, but you really compromising the whole operation.
Yeah.
For what? This isn't Rue, okay? This is not Rue.
Same family, yeah.
Exactly. This is just, you just met this person. As a matter of fact, you met him one time. Now you brought him in to stay. Nah, my boy, y'all love Fezco, my favorite character, but he tripping.
It's a bad look. And I think the show tried to like give us an excuse. Like, obviously, if she's out in the street, she's caught, she might run her mouth, tell who to plug. I mean, sure. But like you said, I think there's a way, you know, let me pay for this hotel 200 miles away from this situation. But as everyone's saying in the chat, and as we're saying on the panel, I think she's going to be very problematic to Fez and the whole situation, and Lori and the whole thing. I think she's going to be someone that unfortunately is going to mess stuff up, which is what we come to expect with this show, right? As always, these new characters get into the mix. But Ashtray was not for it, and I don't blame him. But Mr. Toxic himself is back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about Cal. Cal is back in the mix. He's digging his nose into everyone's situation. He goes to Cass' house. He's threatening them to get the cops involved, which inevitably makes Cass, unfortunately, which I guess she was looking out for a family, I guess you could
No,
say it, but looking out for herself at the same time. And obviously Lexi, she's upset about this. Number one, because you're ruining her potentially new boyfriend's life, but also why play into Cal's games? Gabriella, your thought on Cal getting into the mix and ultimately Cass breaking and telling him it was Fez that whooped your son's ass.
I feel the same way about Nate as I do about Cal. I'm like,
Apple don't fall too far from the tree.
I can't wait for something bad to happen to you. Can't wait. So excited. But like, this is what I mean about Cassie and the Maddie situation. Like, it brings it back to that. She doesn't do well under pressure. And I also think like when she gets put into these high pressure situations, she pretends like she's not smart, and it just kind of floats right off of her in the sense of like, stand up for yourself, or you can speak up and say whatever you want to say. I think sometimes she forgets about that. So
yeah,
I was very, very mad at her. Not happy with our girl Cass right now. Fezco did not deserve this. He did us a public service. That's all he did. So I am not happy about the situation. But like I said, I think Cal, Nate, the Jacob family, really, they could go. It's okay.
Mom's innocent though so far.
The mom innocent. The silly dumb brother seems to be innocent so far. They're just there. They're just there.
Yeah.
Big Dog, Cal's in the mix. First off, if I'm Cass' mom, I'm not inviting you in my house. I mean, you just because you make all the houses in the neighborhood don't mean you can come in my house. In the way you was allowing him to talk to your daughter, being like, I'm not talking to you right now. I'm talking like, you can get out the house. But either way, no hair. Cal's in the mix, man. He got his nose in the business, and again, the douches of all douches is in the mix, man. What do you think about Cal in this episode, especially when we get to a little bit later? But in this moment, him coming into the house like he runs the house.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. There is no way you finna sit in my house at my table and talk to my daughter like that. It's just him and Nate, they just have this feeling of they can't be touched.
Right.
But I look at Cal, it angered me. But also that whole sequence. One thing I liked about it, I can't deny it, is the fact that, yes, Cass told on Fez, but one is because Cass has a relationship with Nate. Then you also have Lexi, who's mad at it because her telling affects Fez. And they both, neither one of them know about the other person's
exactly.
I'm just like, oh, this is so good. They think it's just just simple. Like, why don't you tell? Like, no, it's
more complicated than that. Yep.
Exactly. But I just can't. Like, that was the last straw for me with Cass right there. That was where I was just like, you can do a lot, Cass. You cheated on your best friend, but when you tell on my boy Fezco and put his life in danger,
that's the straw. That's the sand in the line.
Hey, that's the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I can't do it no more, Cass. You're done. I'm done with you. I hope you get hurt by the end of this episode. I mean, by the end of the season. Hope you get your heart broken. I'm sorry. It is what it is.
And she does another mistake here in a little bit, but we briefly talked about it. Again, we talked about this relationship with Elliot and Rue, and like Gabriella said, just the fact that Rue is so comfortable with Elliot so quickly and sharing her, how she lost her dad and love and loss and all this stuff does kind of open the door for them having more than a friendship. And we talked about, obviously this incredible scene that we got with Kat. And that brings us to, again, Rue's always in the right place at the right time. She sees Cass. This is yet another bad decision. Cass going into the car with Nate, which I think will be ammunition a little bit later in the season. Again, we got the phone call blowing up, and they're going to be called in the mix. But I'm happy that this individual is back on the scene, especially after watching that special that they had with Rue. Ali's back. Ali is back in the mix. Coma Domingo is one of my favorite actors, such an underrated actor. I'm so glad he's back into the forefront. But tossing it to you, Big Dog, in regards to these moments here. Rue, seeing Cass, seeing Nate, is that going to play something into a little bit later in regards to Rue always being at the wrong place at the wrong time?
Most definitely. See, that whole little web is just getting more and more complicated. And I think we are by the end of the episode, I'm getting to the whole thing. But the fact that she sees this, Rue's not the type to just go off and talk, but at the same time, I think there are just certain, the way everything's interwoven, it starts to connect a lot because you have Jules, you have the tape, you have Maddie, and like those two relationships where Maddie want to put that out knowing that it's Jules. It just so it complicates things so much. And then
Yeah.
like with Rue put the business out knowing that they can ultimately end up hurt Jules. It's just so much from that one scene of her seeing this girl run into the truck complicates things way more than they already were.
Yeah.
Because like if you really look at it, like Rue got granted, Rue really don't care about nothing but drugs and Jules a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
But like you look at it, it's like, damn, things just got way more complicated if Rue somehow brings it up to literally anybody in the show.
And I mean, it would make sense because as far as bringing it up, especially knowing the fact that even though I know she kind of puts her and Lexi's friendship, she only uses it when she needed it last year with the drugs, but that's her best friend and her best friend's sister get into the car with the most toxic character in the entire show. So I would hope that Rue comes to the realization that at least she wants her sisters or her best friend's sisters to be safe because she doesn't want him to get in that web. But Gabriella, will Rue ultimately go to Lexi and say, you need to get your sister out of the situation? Or will she just kind of let it be? Because it's Rue.
I don't know if it's going to be Lexi. And the reason I say that is because we know that Rue only really deals with Jules and now Elliot. I mean, she's not hanging out with Maddie and going shopping with Maddie.
Right.
However, the bowling scene, we did get to see Jules and Maddie get a little closer.
Which I
in
love.
the sense of like, oh, we're closer friends. And now Maddie is sharing with Jules and saying, oh, I think, I want to get back with Nate. But I think that moment kind of led us to know that maybe Jules and Maddie would be closer this season. So if Rue even says something to Jules at this point, it's just going to be a domino effect for the rest of them.
Yes.
That's well said. And that's what I'm so excited about the season, seeing these obviously characters we love interacting for the first time. Like you said, I don't recall, except for like the season finale when they were all at the table at the school dance. That was like the only time I think Jules and Rue even talked, and Maddie. I think that was the first time they ever interacted. So totally, like you said, Gabrielle, I would love to see more of Jules and Maddie interacting more because they have more in common than they can mad because they both they're in love with people that are, one's a drug addict, one's just a crazy psycho individual. So they have more in common than they can possibly imagine. So I hope that we get more of those interactions in the future episodes. So that is something I would like to see. But getting back to our boy Fez, and this was one of my favorite scenes too. And you talk about tension. This is how you create tension. We get Lexi coming in there, and just by the way, I just love them being like so cute, trying to have like small talk. You need help, something to drink? Yeah, no, I know. It's just like this seeing Fez kind of being out of his comfort zone, kind of catching him off guard was just something nice to see. And again, Faye, I don't know if you guys were watching her in the background. She was just making like the weirdest faces. She's such a weird individual, but. This is when things get a little bit more serious. We got Cal with the gun in his pocket. We got my boy Ashtray getting ready to cause some more havoc because we know it don't take much for him to get a hammer or get a gun and take care of business to keep his big brother safe. But Gabriella, starting with you, the tension in this scene, I'm like, I don't know what to expect, especially after last week's finale of, obviously Fez beating the hell out of, Nate and then Ashtray killing Mouse. I'm thinking someone was going to have to get hurt in this scene, but hey. No one did. Not yet, at least.
They know how to build tension. That's for damn sure.
Yes, they do.
I was waiting for catastrophe to strike. I was prepared. But I also think in the back of my head, once Lexi showed up, I was like, is Cal going to push it to the limit that he makes this big of a decision or this much of a violent criminal act in front of Lexi? And now, her sister is willing to open her mouth for and just, blame whoever she has to blame. So I just thought the tension was wild. I also just think that Cal is now trying to play games with the kids. It's almost like, oh, I'm here to scare you. I mean, these are kids. They're 17, they're 18, whatever the case is. I think it's a little odd that even if your son got beat up, you'd be showing up to beat up or potentially shoot.
Right. Dude.
High school kid. It's a little weird. It's a little weird.
Totally agree, but we got to remember this is Cal who, not to be explicit, is having sex with kids. So this guy is really he has no boundaries. He has no whatever we have as regular human beings is missing from from his brain. Big Dog, your thoughts on this scene again? From Lexi coming in, a little small talk, to Faye being a weirdo in the background, to Cal coming in there with his gun, sending a message. I'm just a concerned father, which we know is a lot more implications than that. Your thoughts on this scene and how well it was executed?
Oh, I thought this scene was absolutely incredible from the beginning. Like the from the Lexi and Fez relationship, I think is just adorable. I guess I
Yeah,
would say I think it's just adorable because those two are like a lot of fan favorite characters, and
Yeah.
I feel like both of them have been put in like some just terrible situations. I kind of feel like Lexi gets overlooked so many times, and she's just like an incredible person, an incredible friend, and so her like stepping up because I like the backstory stuff they gave with her. And like she's like, you know what? I'm put my foot down. I'm gonna go out here.
Right.
I'm gonna initiate this stuff with Fez, and you have that.
Yep.
And I actually did think Cal might have possibly did something because he saw Lexi going now. If he wanted to, if he could have, he could have just waited till she left. But he's
Right.
like, you know what? Nah, it is what it is. I'm going in here right now. I'm finna handle this. I 100% thought somebody was finna get shot.
Somebody. I thought maybe it was Faye just for being there.
That's definitely a possibility. But I thought at least Cal was gonna pull the gun, and then of course Ashtray was gonna start shooting. It would have made me feel uncomfortable just because Lexi was there, and like she always just been innocent and just never just doing to the fire like that. So I would have been more concerned for her. This is like Fed's lifestyle. It comes with like drug dealing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like Cal, he gonna get his. I think he would have got it tonight. It's just he played the more mental game tonight rather than like just going off the deep end.
He's, perfect. As you just brought that up, this made me think we saw the reaction, and it was much warranted what Fez did, but it was a reactionary situation. It was building to that point, but as you just mentioned, Cal, he's I hate Cal, but he's an adult. He's like thinking about it. Like, I'm not going to go ahead and, like Gabriella said, I'm not going to shoot him, beat him up. There's a girl here. There's evidence. There's cameras there. So he's playing along. Again, I hate the character, but he is thinking more than what Fez did last week, just popping someone off and couldn't potentially go into jail and messing up your situation. So it does speak to the maturity, if we want to call it that, of Cal, just setting the mood. And I think it's foreshadowing. I think it will be a moment, especially with the flickering light. I love that little note there. I think it is foreshadowing that those two will inevitably clash, and we'll see who gets the best of it. But as we kind of wrap up the episode, again, I mentioned Ali is back, and I said earlier that there was two scenes that I might be looking in too much into, but you guys agreed with me on the first one with the babysitter and Maddie. Is Ali Rue's mom? Is that something that could be coming, Gabriella? Is it just me that he was just being? First off, he's being a smart adult. Yes, if there's a kid, if I had a kid that was in a car with an older man, and you want to introduce yourself, so kudos to him being a smart adult. But then going in there seemed to be some flirtation going on. What do you think about Ali? I can't think of Rue's actual mom's name besides call her Rue's mom, but is that something we can explore this season?
I don't know if it's like kinda. I'm like, ooh, this could be a moment. But like on the other hand, I kind of feel like Ali is inserting himself so much into Rue's life in attempt to save her or try to get her to stop before it's too late, almost kind of situation. And introducing himself to his mom inserts himself so far into her life that if he chose to show up and say, hey, we have a problem, or she's not sober, the door is now open, kind of. I don't know. I also don't know if it would be good for her. Like, her daughter's already dealing with being an addict, and now we're kind of like tampering with that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how healthy it would be.
I totally agree, especially because, and again, just looking at it from an outside perspective, I don't know if that's a good move for him being the sponsor. He should have told her. We obviously love Rue, but he should have been the adult and been like, hey, let me talk to you for a little bit. Your daughter's back on drugs, but he didn't do that. So he isn't necessarily the don't want to say not a good influence because he is there for her, and there's always, he's always one call away. But Big Dog, what you thinking about Ali and getting into the mix? Where's Rick? What happened to Rick? Rick was there last year. Did she say, "Yeah, you a little bit too corny, Rick. Let me go ahead and cut this off"? But is it Ali and Rue's mom something looking forward to?
Yeah, Rick wasn't gonna last.
Rick
we
was,
all knew
yeah.
Rick wasn't gonna last.
Rue put him in his place as soon as she saw him.
I'm surprised you remember this name, to be honest. But,
I just remember, yeah, that's right. How you doing? And I was like, he looks like a Rick. That's what I remember. Yeah, he looks like a Rick.
So I think definitely it's going to be something between those two, but I think it's going to be because of Rue. I think obviously he's going to come around a little bit more because I think he truly cares about Rue, and that's going to be like the gateway. She was like, "Oh, you care about my daughter," and ultimately it's going to be something. I don't know how much they're going to explore it though, because to Gabriella's point, it's like, okay, this is a little bit complicated because my daughter's already dealing with some stuff, and now I'm over here talking to a sponsor. That might mucky things up, but I do think they're going to flirt with the idea before ultimately coming to a decision if they're going to move forward with it.
Yeah. We'll see. And another character I'm really looking forward to as far as connection to Rue is her little sister, because she's starting to kind of, Rue influences her so much. We saw it last year with his weed, but that's all it takes is the weed, and you go from there, you graduate from the next drug. So I'm really excited to see her sister get back into the mix and see how she plays into this season. But wrapping up the episode, which, we have so many great moments. Again, whether it's, we talked about with Maddie, a situation, and Elliot and Rue, but we wrap things up with this whole situation with Fez as we have Cal is in his son's room. And normally from season 1, we already know how this scene plays out. Is Cal besting his son? Is Cal getting into his son's head? Is Cal being, whenever Nate is around his dad, he feels like that little kid that we met in season 1. But now it looks like the tables have turned as Cal comes in there, and I know who you gonna let a drug addict beat your ass, and all this stuff. And listen, starting with you, Big Dog, the look on Cal's face when Nate, and we all hate Nate. I want to put that out there. We all hate Nate, but I ain't gonna lie. When Nate told his dad that he knew what he was into, what he does on his free time, I ain't gonna lie. I was like, okay, Nate, I see. And again, like Gabriella said, I mean, all these people are casted perfectly. I mean, Jacob Elorge just has that kind of, I don't want to say charm, but he has the thing on the screen where you don't entirely, you love to hate him, right? So him calling his dad out on his BS was a great moment for me, man. I ain't going to even lie to you. But what do you think about this situation at hand? And to be honest with you, Nate doesn't know what a tape is, but he can play to his dad and be like, "Oh, I know what it is, but I'm going to need you to do this, that." And is he going to take advantage of his dad?
He possibly might. Here's the thing, and I completely agree with you. As much as despicable and terrible and horrible as Nate is, Nate also cold. Like Nate cold.
Hey.
That's the reason everybody wanted to see him get beat up so bad.
Because
how cold, like the way he played mental gymnastics with people. We saw what he put Tyler through. And as much as he's been waiting to get back at his dad, he's finna do the exact same thing to him. There's no telling. No telling where he's gonna tell the tape. Nate, no more curfew. He's probably gonna be extorting his dad and some money.
How much you got in your wallet, Pop? Let me go ahead and run that. Go ahead. Let me go ahead and get the key. Yeah.
It's just, I mean, he does kind of get those elements from his dad, but like now he's finally in a position of power where he doesn't feel like that little kid, you know what I'm saying, in his dad's presence. Cal is for some trouble. Whenever Nate has the slightest advantage of somebody, it's always bad for him. Always.
It's so true. And tossing to Gabriella, I go back to season 1, and as weird as it may be, and he even says it in the scene, I was maybe looking out for you. I mean, with the whole Jules situation, it was honestly a little bit of, that whole thing that which I don't know if they're going to explore that again, the Jules and Nate relationship ending. It kind of ended in her special, not like she wants to get away from that, but she also said she still loved the idea of Tyler. So I don't know if they're going to be interacting at all this season, but your thoughts on Nate? Is he going to look out for his dad, or is he going to finally, for the first time in his entire life, have his dad, at the palm of his hand?
I'm a little nervous that, like I said, I think that this might be Nate's path to redemption. So now that, he was beaten half to death and we went through Rue narrating all these moments that he was imagining and it being Cassie and him changing the way he was. And it was just his dad didn't exist kind of situation.
Right.
And I think we're kind of going to go towards the road of redemption with Nate, and he's going to end up either turning on his dad or we're going to have a wild ride of playing catch and mouse with his dad. I don't foresee him and his dad being on the same team. I think there's too much damage done there. And I think if Nate wants to do well, he knows that his father is a driving force in why he's always been the way he is. So I think getting rid of him gets rid of a lot of Nate's issues. But I don't know. I think that's also that's always the best character arc. Like, who doesn't love the horrible, horrible dude that by season 2 all of a sudden is making decisions to help other people or be a good dude. And now you're like, oh, well, you're kind of making up for what you did. So it could go that way. I mean, look at the characters that we've seen before, like Chuck Bass and Damon Salvatore. They started off as the worst, the horrible. We couldn't stand them. By the end of those running shows, everyone loved them. So I think that could be a large possibility for Nate.
Well said from the both of you. I mean, do you take down your dad? Because at that point, you lose everything. The turmoil the family will go through. I don't think the mom works. So I think we'll be living on the street. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see because, Nate has done so many granted, Tyler did have sex with a minor in season 1. So there was definitely ramifications for that. But the whole way that he handled that situation made you kind of feel for the kid, right? Even with that terrible decision. So there's just and the things that he did to Rue last year and Jules, obviously. I don't know, Gabriella. It's going to be a long road if they're going to get us on his side. But the one character that is a little bit of notch ahead of him is his dad. So take it down the head honcho, Darth Vader taking down Plagueis, we'll see. We'll see what comes.
I also think his dad was heavily humbled by the end of this, by the end of this episode, Gabriella? He knew that was the one thing that was humbling Cal from was the entire situation with Jules. We saw it at the chili cookout.
Yeah. So. Yep. It's well said. Well said. We rarely see Cal flustered, but whenever you bring up what he does in his free time, that whole hoorah, I'm the man goes into a shell of himself, and he's doesn't know what to do. So, I mean, any final thoughts from you guys before we wrap it up, Gabriella? Again, we talked briefly about Jules and Big Dog said up top. I love Jules and Rue, but I love that we're also focusing on these, Kat, Cassie, Lexi, Fez, the supporting characters. When you have a great show, it's only as good as your supporting characters. We can all love our favorite characters, 2 of them, but when you build from, all the surrounding players, it just makes things so much better. So any final words, Gabriella, for what you hope to see for, again, Jules and the Elliot and, Rue's situation? Maddie finding out about her best friend, Cal, Fez. Is there anything that you hope to see in the coming weeks?
I think I'm kind of excited after Jules and Maddie's conversation and seeing Kat and her boyfriend and Maddie kind of coming to terms with maybe a fully healthy relationship wasn't as interesting to her. And I think that that's a huge talking point, and that's a massive moment for a ton of people. And I think it's a huge issue that a lot of people don't even discuss, that when you do see the perfect relationship that everyone's like, oh, this is so perfect. And you're like, well, what if I like the drama? What if I'm driven? That's what's driving me. Right. So I'm kind of intrigued to see where that goes with Maddie, and maybe seeing her, not necessarily with Nate, and seeing maybe a healthy moment and seeing how she performs in a healthy moment. So I kind of want to see that go down.
And it might be for the babysitter's mom. It might be Theo's mom. that she might explore that
Shit.
healthy relationship. We'll see what comes of that. Big dog. Is there any theories, man, or characters that you want to see next week or in the coming weeks? Kind of either leave a relationship, get into a relationship, have some more ass beatings been given out to the Jacobs family. What's your thoughts on the future episodes, man?
Oh well, first of all, I need to see Kyle get his ass beat for sure. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
because the way the episode ends with like Fez pretty much like on guard completely now. Like I said, those mental games kind of like play with him. So now you got to really like step up. Like, okay, I can't get caught slipping because he caught him lacking. So
Yeah.
you got to worry about that. But I do also want to explore Fed's relationship with Lexi because once again, I think Lexi has been incredible to everybody around her. And I think the fact that like Fed showed interest in her going to probably give us more time to like focus on Lexi, which I think she truly deserves because she's one of the best characters in the show. Going to one of the points Gabriella made that I really was like excited to talk about was the relationship between Jules and Maddie and like that whole thing because I think although we saw Kat dealing with it, I like the fact that Jules told Maddie like I wish you saw what everybody else sees in you. You know what I'm saying? Like that you deserve so much more. And I think that's really gonna stick with her, which is also going to make things a lot more complicated when it comes to that tape. Because yes, she might end up finding out about Nate and Cassie, but do
Yeah.
she really want to risk putting this tape out that also involves Jules
Jules. Yeah.
would definitely embarrass her.
Yeah.
It would take down Nate and his father, breaking them up completely. But I think the reason they showed that moment between those two
Yeah.
was so Maddie would have a conflict whenever it comes to that tape.
That's a good point. And that's that was one of the questions, and I'm glad you brought it up. And just to have your thoughts on it, Gabriella, this tape situation and going back with what Big Dog said, Maddie has the power. She has that power in her hands. And if she wants to, she can destroy Nate's life by bringing in his dad. But like Big Dog said, and if this is a relationship we can maybe explore as far as friendships, that's going to hurt Jules. It's going to be very embarrassing. It's going to probably be something that she might have to even move from this town with her dad because that is a very serious situation, having a child being involved with someone doing what, obviously Cal did. So what we got with this tape?
I think the only person that tape belongs to is Jules. I think the only person that should make a decision on what that tape does or who that tape goes to or is shown to should be Jules.
Right.
So I'm hoping that if that relationship with Maddie does continue and they do end up close and they have a moment that maybe Maddie does start to act like a good friend. I don't feel like she does that often, especially this season. I feel like even episode 1, she was so kind of dismissive about the fact that Lexi couldn't even find Cassie. She was just really dismissive and like didn't look like she was even interested in finding her or caring. So I think that could be a huge judge of character on Maddie's part with the Jules tape. So hopefully it goes to Jules.
Couldn't agree with you more on the decision should be in Jules because she didn't know she was being recorded as they pointed out in this season or this episode. So listen, this is episode 2 of I think 8, if I'm not mistaken, very similar to season 1. So this is just the first 2 episodes, and I just got to pose that question to Big Dog and Gabriella. They were both great, but which episode do you think was better in regards to narrative, the feels, the thrills, the chills? Gabriella, again, we love both of them, but if you were to put a rating or a number or which one you prefer, which one are you leaning towards?
I think episode 1, but I also think episode 1 because 2 years of waiting for something. I think there were so many nerves going into that, and expectations were so high for it that it was kind of like I was sitting on the edge of my seat, like, please let this not flop. Let everything go the way it's supposed to.
Right.
And I just think the cinematography for episode 1 with those spotlights, I mean, it physically looked like they were shooting through a disposable camera. So I just I think episode 1 kind of just all around was a masterpiece. So I'd have to say.
Well said. Definitely delivered on that promise of that 2-year hiatus. Big Dog, put it on you, man. Episode 1 and 2, two great 1-2 combo back-to-back episodes. But if you had one that you would revisit more than often, which one are you taking so far 2 episodes in?
I wish I could say something different, but it is what it is. That episode 1, man. I think we talk about like the production, the cinematography. Their choice of music is always fantastic, and like the timing of it is always just excellent. That first episode, the entire build up, bro, your stomach would start. Bro, when they opened the curtain to Z-Cast, and only thing is, all it took was for Maddie to look at that, and then you get this whole thing into the culmination of a 2-year ass whooping we've been waiting to see. That was one of the most satisfying, if not the most satisfying episode of not just this season, of the show for me.
You guys make up some great points. I think, and this might be a little bit of bias. I love episode 1 as everything you all just said. I couldn't agree with you all more. I'm just thinking of the plots that we got in this episode, and particularly I think about Kat and exploring that, because we didn't really get much of her last week, right? We obviously got more Fez, which I love, but I don't know. I just think it was able to give the baton to everyone in this particular episode. Not that it wasn't last week, but I just think that this episode, just from a writing perspective and just seeing the ramifications of last week's episode, was just so interesting to me. But you can't go wrong with either one of them. This is great TV. This is why this is one of the best TV shows on TV, and I can't wait to see what episode 3 has up its sleeve. But there you have it. Spoiler discussion with these two incredible people, Big Dog and Gabriella. I appreciate you both. You guys are more than welcome to come back at any point in this season and talk about the latest episode, because I have such a fun time breaking it down with you all. So with that being said, Gabriella, having you outro first. Again, I appreciate you. I'm so glad we're able to finally see each other, being, friends on the social medias for so long. Being able to have this chat with you about one of our favorite shows is awesome. So I appreciate you. But if you want to let the people know where you're at, where they can find you, the stage is yours.
I was so excited to be here. I love talking Euphoria, of course. So you will be seeing me again before episode 8. And I'm on TikTok and Instagram at Gabriella Angelina. And again, just tattoos, TV, and too many opinions.
Love it. I love what your bio Instagram. My Life is a HBO series is the best. I love it.
It's getting there. It's getting there.
I love it. I love it. So guys, do yourself a favor. Check her out. Her links are in the bio. Such an awesome person, but has some amazing content that you guys are going to love. So definitely check her out. And Big Dog, like I said up top, man, with B being our mutual friend, being on his the panels and discussing movie news, DC, Marvel, Star Wars. It was such a pleasure to talk about some Euphoria with you, my man. Excited to have you back on in the future, man. But if you want to let the people know where you're at, what's the next awesome review you have lined up for the people, and where the people can find you, man.
Yeah, first of all, Elliot, thank you, Gabrielle. It's great to meet you. I've been waiting to get on something and talk something with you, Elliot. I'm so happy it is Euphoria, because like the passion that all of us have for this show is just absolutely incredible. If you look for me once again, all my socials, OneTakeBigDog, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. So I've probably got a couple reviews for some anime. Today we got Attack on Titan, we got Demon Slayer for my anime fans, and I'm actually gonna watch The Raid, which everybody keeps telling me to watch. So that review will probably be up tomorrow. But yeah, just getting reviews up, having fun, just enjoying everything.
And one of the best doing it on the platform, man. Keep doing your thing. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on The Raid. It's one of my favorite action movies of all time. And 2 might just be a little bit better than 1, believe it or not, when you see it, man. I love The Raid. But listen, man, Gabriella, OneTakeBigDog, I appreciate you both. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Again, I hope to get you guys both on a discussion later on, because we all know this show is going to get crazier and crazier, and we're all here for it. So again, guys, before you leave, make sure you're liking, sharing, commenting in the comment section. Subscribe to both of their platforms, follow them on their platforms, and you all have a great week. And we'll see you next Sunday talking more Euphoria. Take care, everybody.